Hello everyone, my name is Leonardo Ribeiro, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to start coding with GraphQL in a nodeJS environment. So to start, I'm going to open my terminal and create a new folder like mkdir GraphQL example. Okay. That's it. And here we're gonna start coding. Okay, so what we're gonna do is starting the internal terminal and start yarn init. Yeah, this way. And start with installing GraphQL and GraphQL Express, sorry. Here and GraphQL Express, GraphQL Express. And yeah, it's installed. So now we're gonna create a new file, touch index.js, and we're gonna create two new files that I'll explain better later. The first one is resolvers.js and schema.js. Yeah, that's the way. And now we're gonna open our index.js and starting importing our dependencies here. So I'm gonna import express from express and import GraphQL from express-GraphQL, import resolvers from our resolvers, import schema, type defs from schema. I'll change this name here to type defs. It's better, yeah. Defs, yeah, that's way. And I also install yarn add Babel CLI, Babel core, Babel CLI, if I'm not wrong, Babel, and Babel reset env. Okay, so now we're gonna create a Babel RC file and put our presets here, and it's gonna be just env. Env, yeah, that way. And in your package.json, you're gonna put scripts here. Start nodemon exec babel node index.js. I think that's it if I'm not wrong. And yeah, let me just start here. Const app equals express app get hack response is dot send hello world and app.listen to port 3000, and I'll give it a callback console.log listening to 3000. Okay, so let's see how it looks. Yarn start. And now we go to localhost 3000, and yeah, so it's working fine. We have here our hello world. And now it's time to configure our GraphQL server here. So what I'm gonna do is to put app.use, and we will define a GraphQL route, which should be GraphQL. And then we're gonna create a new instance for GraphQL. GraphQL here. Sorry, not new instance. We'll pass the GraphQL function here, which will have object configuration, and we will have a schema here. And to create this schema, we will need to first configure our type definitions here. So I'm gonna create these definitions now. So const type defs equals here the first thing that we have to do is to create our users, for instance, like type user, and now we're gonna put our user attributes here. So like our first name, it's gonna be the type of string, and it will be mandatory. So this explanation point means that it's mandatory to put first name, and the same thing with last name, string, and email, string, and age gonna be int, but not mandatory. Password, and it's gonna be of type string. Yeah, and for us to get this data out, we need to also create our resolvers that will have to get this data from our database. But for now, we will not use a database. We would have just statically user created directly on the code. So now we have to define our query to get all this data, and we'll have like users that should get back all of users type. Like here I'm defining like an array, because we should have more than one or more users, or no. And if we don't have any user created, it will returns back empty array for us. And we also will get back only user. So this will get an object of type input, and to put this input user here, that will returns back, oh sorry, it's this way, and it will returns back a user for us. But it may or may not be a user, because if there is no user to get back, we should return something like no, or empty, or an empty object, or yeah, whatever. So we have to create a type, an input type of input user, the same way that we created here, and this should have like email of type string mandatory, and we will search all the users for for the email, for instance, but it could be like the database ID or some other unique values for this user. Okay, so yeah, we already created our type, and now we're gonna create our resolvers. And oh yeah, before I forget, we have to export default this type def. Yeah. And now we're gonna create our resolvers here. And the first thing that we have to remember is that resolvers should have the same shape of the type definition. So for instance, query here, and inside of this query we have users and a user. So this is the type of shape that we should have there. You don't have to worry about input and another type definitions that should match like a model. Only the query, mutations, and subscription types. So right now I'm gonna create a query here that should be an object, and we have users that should have a root or parent or whatever here. This will be like the query. So we have here a parent and the input and a context and another args here that we for now I'm just gonna keep with input, since this is what we're gonna need now. But if you want to, you can leave on the comments and I can explain in another video what these other parameters mean. So yeah, so right now we're gonna have like a statically users here which should be an array of users, and as we define it here, this user should have all these data types here. Okay, so I just cleaned up this. We're gonna fill this up, and we have a John email.com, and have like 37 years old, and we have the password of password 123 dot, and we will duplicate this one to Jane Doe. Jane, she's 32, and Bob Doe, and you have yeah, this amount of years old here. And yeah, so we're gonna return these users basically. We also will have a user, parent, input, context, and another args here that should get back users.find, and you have a user, and if user.email equals input.email, return user. And yeah, that's it. So we'll now use another tool here, which is yarn add GraphQL tools. This will include a make schema, I think. Let me see, which will create a schema merging these resolvers and this type definition. So let's start here from GraphQL tools, and it should be makeExecutableSchema. Yeah, that's it. And here we will create our schema equals makeExecutableSchema, and we'll have type definitions and our resolvers. That's it. And from this schema, we'll have this here, and yeah, and we're gonna save it. And just runs yarn start. Oh, by the way, before I forget, we should let this GraphQL option as true. Okay, so now we're gonna start our server. Oh yeah, let me change this. And now it should work fine. Oh yeah, that's it. So yeah, let's take a look. So we're gonna localhost. Yeah, we're going to localhost port 3000 GraphQL, and should see this user interface here. So yeah, let's see how it looks our document, which is the schemas that you've created, your type definitions. So you should see the parent type here, which is a query. Inside query, we have users and user. So let's try to get a user right now. So we're gonna put a query here and like see this autocomplete by pressing like Control space on Mac and Windows, and we should see this user and users. Let's try to list our users. And as you can see here, we have this red lines on the bottom. It means that you have to select the fields that you want to query. So let's get just the first name and email, for instance. So let's see. Name, yeah. Oh yeah, it's because let's see here, users return. Oh yeah, we have to export our resolvers too. Just forget that. Export default. Yeah, this way. And now it should work fine. Let's try again. Oh yeah, and now we can see this user listings here with whatever attribute we put here. So let's see again our age and first name and last name, and yeah, exactly as we wanted. And let's say that, for instance, we want just John Doe, only one user, and we're gonna put an input here, and this input should get the email john.doe. It should be a string actually. So john.doe@email.com. And since it will return a user, it should you should select the attributes that you want as well. So let's try to do that then. Oh yeah. I forgot to put the return here. So yeah, we're gonna return users.find, and if we find input.email equals a user.email, we should return this user. So let's refresh and let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. So I have to put this way to get the email from this input, because the way we define it here is we will have first this as an object, and inside this object we will have an input, and inside of this input we will have this email. So we have to put this way. And it should work now. So if I press execute, we should get all this data now. And another thing that you can do is to put names to your queries, or mutations, or subscribes, or so. So for instance, for a query like get one user and query get all users. Just put a space here to be more beautiful. So yeah, and here we're gonna have all the users with first, last name, and age as well. And when you click here, instead of executing from the first time, it will ask you which query you want to run. So I'm gonna run get all the users, and it will return to me this all our users, or we can get just Jane Doe, for instance, and on this one, and select get one user, and it should return to us only Jane Doe as we wanted. Okay, so that's it for now. If you want more details about how GraphQL works, or how you can create a full app, just leave in the comments, and please subscribe and leave your like as well. I really appreciate that. So yeah, that's all folks. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye bye.